Let's go around the grounds now with Christopher Kelly as he gives us a league roundup from what's happening in general NRL that the Sharks fans may or may not be interested. We're obviously coming out of the Vegas round.
How exciting!
How exciting! And who's currently last on the table? Yeah, give us the roundup, Chris. What's going on? What do we need to know?
Yeah, well, just on the back of Franco's prediction, it's sort of like in the social roundup as well. You see a lot of drums beaten for Iro, like Talakai. A lot of Sharks fans are saying Talakai is on his, give it a couple of rounds, and if he doesn't perform, but I just don't see him getting forced out of his home position. I've talked about it before, but every time I go onto some sort of social page about our team list or our team, it's obviously Iro's the call up, but we've sort of got an inside knowledge it might be Stone Street, but we'll see what happens. Obviously, the season kicked off. They call it round 1 or round 0 in Las Vegas on the weekend. But opened up with the Rabbitohs versus Manly, and what a cracker of a game. Like I said, the Lats, there won't be many tries scored because the field was shortened, but boy, I was wrong on that. He had 60 points in the first game, and it was just an absolute cracker of a game for a round 1.
And they look good.
It kind of felt like an origin or a semi-final.
Yeah,
those teams were going at it. There was injuries. There was high shots. There was bit of argy-bargy at halftime, which I would have liked to see the referee let go to try and show the Americans that they allow us to punch on as well, but we don't obviously anymore. And then we sort of went into the next game where the Roosters just came out firing against Brisbane, absolutely just gave it to them. I haven't seen a Roosters pack fire that since the semi-final against
don't talk about the Roosters. Why?
Obviously, that game was a on-field complaint by Ezra Mann about a racial comment from Spencer Leniu, who's been referred straight to the judiciary. So they're obviously going to go through the audio of that. It doesn't mean he's guilty. It just means because it's a racial vilification that it's going straight to the judiciary. A lot of players have come out in support, including our own Nico Hines today, was pointing out to our Indigenous jersey and saying he was back in Ezra Mann. So I also sort of picked up on the roundup that both teams were staying at Resorts World, beautiful resort there in Las Vegas, and there was a bit of words exchange after the match in the lobby because awkwardly they're staying in the same hotel. So
even the same floor, wasn't it? What do we think of the? Can we make a commentary on the way the Roosters have handled this incident and compare that to how the Sharks might handle a similar incident?
I think it's like a lot of these incidents that have happened in the past, from on-field complaints of biting to things like that. Both those teams just say, let's just sort it out in the judiciary instead of just leaving on the field. They don't actually make comment on it and just want to see how the investigation folds out. So I think both teams.
Trent Robinson, he came out and said that just because there's an accusation doesn't mean that it's necessarily true.
Yeah, and I think again,
I thought his choice of words was particularly good.
You saw in the semi-final match with the Raiders and Knights last season where there was a biting allegation. And again, it comes down to the person who makes the complaint following through on the judiciary night. It also comes down to what they can find in the audio, kind of like the Reece Walsh saga when he was swearing at the referee, and then the players backed that up. So they sort of, I thought it was a bit strange that Lena was asked straight afterwards by Brent Reid on the field like what he thought of the incident. He's not going to get a comment out of that. He just said, things are said and we'll leave it at that. He said he's going to be sweet, but because most players don't think it's going to kick on from there. So it's obviously taken.
He also said on the field, why would I say that?
And I don't dare anyone to go into any social comments on the thing on any social pages. I'm sure Lats has dived into that. It's quite a deep dive into the dark side of rugby league fans. It was similar to what New South Wales.
Can I put something out there? Seeing as we are talking NFL, I think rugby league should bring in the taunting rule and ban the sledging and the taunting completely. Just be done with it.
Yeah.
I think it's barbaric. I think it's stupid. It causes dumb problems like this. And what one person considers sledging and funny, another person consider, like extremely offensive. And if you just be done with the stupid taunting, like that Penrith stuff, where they score the try and they're like going up and like taunting the other player, it's just not a good look.
Yeah, and even the head rubs when guys drop footballs and things like that.
Yeah, done. Get rid of it.
Can you get the memo? Can you get the memo to Ronnie though, mate?
Yeah.
It's in Palmer or Ronaldo?
Ronaldo.
I mentioned to my mate on the weekend, I'm sick of the running player grabbing onto the jumper of the tackling player. And you see that ugly arm chop that goes on every single week. Yeah. They're trying to let go of the player, and they're literally chopping away at the forearm. And I just think the referee should just be stopping and say, "Oi, boys, just play the ball." Like I'm sick of this sort of But again, it comes down to, like, I even saw Sam Walker do it towards the end of the match, gave a little head rub to one of the Brisbane players that dropped the ball. Like, it shouldn't be on. It's just because they know that there's no repercussions anymore. So
it wasn't allowed in the Dog Sharks trial when Puru, gave a little head massage to I can't remember who it was, but he got pulled up for it. So if they're setting a precedent, they've got to go on with it through the whole year.
Out of the league wrap, it seems at Vegas, a lot of people that didn't go had FOMO, and a lot of people like absolutely loved it. It was again showing when you spend, and I've done a tour of the stadium, don't spend $3 billion on a stadium, that when there's a cyclone outside, apparently it was 60k winds outside, you couldn't even walk around, that inside was just absolute calmness because the roof's on, it's all enclosed, they're not affected by weather. Like, imagine that game is in an open air stadium and there's a cyclonic wind, and we can't show our game how it is because blokes are putting up bombs and they're going backwards or sideways and things like that. So it looked amazing. Obviously, there's a lot of Aussies over there, made the trek over there.
Wasn't a sellout, though.
Wasn't a sellout, but, I sort of mentioned if you took that double header to Perth or Tasmania, you're probably going to get the same numbers anyway. So
maybe not even.
Yeah, maybe not even. So I don't think it was a bad thing that they did it that way. I know a lot of teams are now clamouring for it. I spotted a few sort of. David Gallup was in the crowd. I saw him in one of the corporate boxes. Young Murdoch was in another corporate box. I didn't realise he was still around in these days. And they've talked to a few.
Head of Fox.
Head of Fox was there. And they were talking to a few NFL executives. And I know, like we talked about on Gallon before, and they're just saying, well, if we want to buy a rugby league team, that's changing our back pocket. So, and that was the whole point I said from the very start. If we go over there and sort of influence those guys, it's a lot of money could pour straight back in, like a lot of money. And, I think Volandis might have got into the box and had a few beers. He was quite happy after the match when they interviewed him on Fox.
I thought that comment wasn't great.
Yeah, I don't like the hundreds of millions. He should keep that close to his chest, and I think that's where Abdo sort of reins him in a little bit. But hopefully,
what happened?
He was just saying he's projecting that we're going to make tens to hundreds of millions of dollars out of this experiment. So if we tap into the right,
I think that was a bit of grand staging, but I just didn't like the
cockiness.
Yeah, just the making the jokes of it. Like the rugby league has got a serious problem with some of the fans thinking that some teams get advantages over others, and then to make fun of the brown paper bags, I don't think is really appropriate. Given that, I'm just convinced there's a hierarchy of team that cop favors, and the Sharks are kind of at the bottom of that hierarchy.
And I think he might have got wrapped up in the whole Vegas situation. He seemed a little bit over happy, so I think he might have had a few cause lights over there, and because he seemed just a little bit too animated than what he normally is, and we'll see how it goes. Glasser would love the doggies getting bought up by some billionaire over there, and next thing you know, I'm still interested to see what the TV numbers came out with it. A lot of American fans were quite shocked, as Boldo, we're watching the NFL, there's an injury timeout, the players go off for a head check. Our guys were getting strapped and
just keep going.
Fox, they kept going. They strapped them up. They made sure they zoomed in on the blood, so viewers saw geez, these guys are absolute warriors. Off you go back and keep playing. Even to guys, Saab tearing his hamstring, putting his hand up, and Ruben Garrick doing his ankle and all these kind of injuries. So I think watch this space. I reckon I'm excited by it, but I always was. I'm a bit biased in the Vegas area, but let's go. I thought
they blew it with explaining the rules on the coverage. Actually, I think they didn't get that right. I thought they could have. When you watch the State of Origin and, you've got Ray Warren and Peter Sterling, they know that it's got a new rugby league crowd and they explain some of the rules and some of the moments. And so I'd stick with Sterlo explaining a 40-20 kick, for example.
I think because Dan Ganane did one game and Vossi did the other. I think Vossi did a bit more of an explanation. But, I think the talking was done on the field quite a bit anyway. So I'm sure once they start throwing replays, they're even saying that in Resorts World and Win and things like that, they were playing league highlights all around Vegas and on the Strip, and the Strip was pretty much influx with guys walking around like it was Magic around, like guys walk around in different jerseys and alike. So hopefully we'll get a start. That's all I'm worried about.
Yeah, well, imagine the ET's Dan podcast live from Las Vegas.
I'll be out of money the first day.
Yeah, I think that's
much to go home.
What match are you looking forward to this weekend, Chris? It's not the Sharks.
This weekend, I think the most one I'm intrigued in is probably seeing Melbourne versus Penrith. It's always a big blockbuster in that game. I think that's the one I'm looking forward to see how a retooled Penrith goes against a Melbourne team. You got Pappenhausen coming back. Munster's under an injury cloud. So I think that's the one I'm looking forward to most this weekend.
Fair enough. All right. Well, thank you, Christopher Kelly, for your league roundup.